Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast.
What up?
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz, and it's my week this week.
It is, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Robin topic week.
It's a Robin topic. It was actually pretty fun to try to find some things that were inspired by this main topic. So,
what are you covering this week, Robin? I mean, I know all the peoples. I've seen the title. I'm just wondering.
This week is themed after like cinema murders. So it's murders in the world of cinema.
This is okay. I remember you telling me this because I was like, that sounds a lot like Haunted Hollywood. That's my franchise.
But it's not, there's no hauntings. I have no ghosts.
Right. Mine are usually based off the hauntings of like a particular movie
like
set
a cursed movie or something like that. Mine is not that. Mine is straight up true crime.
Okay. Interesting.
Right. Yeah. I hope you enjoy it. I enjoyed researching it. Before we get into that, special shout out to all of our patrons that give us the boost that we need to keep the show going. Special shout out to Shandon, Dolce, Ethan, Carl Olav. Thank you guys so much for being our top tier patrons.
If you're wondering why did they get a super shout out, it's because they're at the shout out tier over there at Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast, see what tiers we got set up and what you get for being at those tiers. Anyways, back to you, Robin.
And we really couldn't be here without all of you that support us over there.
Yeah.
And we're really thankful to be here. And
we're back for the second week in a row.
We are back.
We haven't gone back-to-back weeks in a minute.
We've been, focusing on mental health this year, and we apologize if there's weeks we're on, weeks we're off.
And on
sometimes
top of that,
that's how it is.
We have jobs.
We do have jobs.
Require a lot of us nowadays. I got a new job, which I say that, but you know what? In like 7 hours, we're leaving on a jet plane.
If you want this to be our full-time job, go over to Patreon and support us on there.
We'll talk a little bit about that, like dreams of how we could make this our full-time job. Next episode 300,
lovely.
which is our 300th special, spectacular. I don't know how spectacular it's going to be. It's going to be us just talking bullshit. But yeah, we would love to get you guys over to patreon.com if you would like to donate. Otherwise, we appreciate everyone who listens and shares with friends and family members.
Yeah.
It is amazing of you folks. Thank you so much. A programming note, you guys are listening to this on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday the 28th. And then next week, the Wednesday after this, you'll be getting the 300th episode. So we're going to go back to back with episodes. And then after that, you won't hear from us until we get back from vacation, which I think will be 2 more weeks after that. So
Lord.
You guys might have 2 weeks without us. That said, I am committed to walking by the Palazzo Cadario, which I'm pretty sure is what it was called. Palazzo Dario, which we're staying near, which is what I covered last week. One of the things I covered last week. So I will post a video if I do walk by it, if I can find it. And, I'll post that onto our social medias if you follow us there. And so you might hear from us.
There's going to be a few haunted locations I think we're going to see on this trip because we're definitely going to the Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh.
I forgot about that.
So yeah, there's a few haunted things we're going to see, and we will be posting it on our social media so you guys will follow along on our trip and hopefully enjoy it as much as we hopefully do.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, so I don't want to waste any more time.
Yeah.
Robin, why don't you go ahead and take on over.
All right. So this week's topic is murders from the world of cinema.
Murder.
And it's a little vague. I get it. There's a lot that this could be about, which is what I love about it. And this one is inspired by my friend Amber and a particular murder that she told me about that I thought was really upsetting. Like, I was really sad when I found this.
You're
one
like,
out.
This is sad and horrible, and I need to
talk about it. Yeah, because I had no idea it was a thing. I had no idea it was a thing at all. And so now you guys are going to know that it's a thing. So the first one and the inspiration behind this week's episode is that of Judith Barcy. So you've probably never heard of her before. I know I hadn't until she was brought up to me. And Judith was born June 6th, 1978. So This is an older one. I think.
Really?
She's
born June 6th, 1978. That's 7 years before me, and this is an older one? Rude.
Oof. When you think about it, right, we're in 2024, guys. 1978. That's a while.
Robin,
away.
On behalf of everyone born 1985 and before that, go to hell.
Anyway, she was born in Los Angeles, She was absolutely adorable, had a good career in commercials and TV. She did some voice acting too. And all of this was before the age of 10.
Is there anything any of us would recognize at this point? Probably not.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we'll get there. So, she started acting when she was 5, which, child actors, that's a thing. And she appeared in things like Jaws: The Revenge. I don't know if that's Jaws 2.
It's the fourth one.
Oh,
it's
my goodness.
Terrible.
Okay. She was a voice actress in animated movies like The Land Before Time.
Fuck yeah.
And All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Aw, these are really good movies.
Yeah, both are absolute tear jerkers. They just mess you up real hard.
Back in the day when animation was supposed to introduce children to death.
Dude, like The Lion King. I mean, your mom still hasn't finished The Lion King.
Yeah, my mom's just like,
It's
whoa,
just too
this
much.
movie sucks. I can't watch this.
I actually really like The Lion King, but
I
again,
do too.
it messes you up.
I
dog.
saw a meme the other day that showed Simba crying after his dad passes away. And it's like, he's crying like he didn't just sing, I just can't wait to be king 20 fucking minutes ago.
I saw one where it was just like, name a harder villain than Scar. Then they're like, dude, Maleficent literally cursed a kid because she wasn't invited to the birthday party.
Yeah, 100%.
So, anyway, we live on memes. That's how we run. That's our fuel. She made more than I do by the time she was 10.
Wow.
So.
And that was back in 1983.
Yeah.
1978. No, okay. By the time she was 10. So 1988.
1978. Yeah, 1988, she was making baller bank.
Good for her.
According to articles I read on the interwebs. So, take that with a grain of salt because you can't always believe everything you read on the internet. As she became more successful, her father made her home life worse and worse.
Why does that always happen? Is it like parents are just upset that their kids are more successful than them?
And okay, so you make this thing, right? You make this child. You make them.
This thing.
You raise them. And then they make all this money. And I feel like a lot of parents end up taking advantage, like, this is just a meal ticket,
Isn't it easier to take advantage of a kid when you're nice to them, though?
Well, and then I'm sure it's something like he sees her success and he's just this bro. His daughter is getting more recognition, making more money than him. Maybe he's emasculated by that fact, but
maybe, and I'm trying to think of this from a parent's perspective of what could happen if a 10-year-old is like very successful in Hollywood. They could be a little hellion who doesn't want to listen to anything the parent has to say and won't engage in discipline. I mean, if this was like 1988, this means I was 3 years old. Engaging in discipline was whether or not I ran from the belt or stood there and took the belt. One way or another, I was getting spanked.
Oh, yeah, I got beat.
But I'm just wondering whether or not that's like kind of what led to it. So trying to be like devil's advocate here of what might have led to that.
All of this is going to be,
He's probably going to kill her. I get it.
So he was an alcoholic.
Okay, there you go.
He had anger issues and reportedly threatened to kill himself, his wife, and his daughter multiple times. And he'd been arrested 3 separate times for drunk driving. So this guy just had an alcohol issue.
Yeah, no shit.
His wife had reported these threats that he kept making towards them to the police. And they couldn't do anything about it without there being any physical evidence, which is absolutely upsetting. And it's kind of crazy to me that is how things work. I mean, even in today, right? It's really hard to get police to do something if you don't have physical evidence of any abuse or anything like that. It's the way things are.
Yeah, the hoops that you have to jump through to get some form of protection, even from something as simple as a restraining order, is just tragic. And so often it's a person feeling hopeless because there's no one there and basically being told, once something bad happens, call us right away.
Well, I'm sure there are ways to do things now. I haven't had to deal with it, so I don't know, because you're so sweet. And I'm sure it's something where there are ways, to get that restraining order without.
It's still incredibly difficult. I just covered that topic maybe like 6 months ago about the podcaster. And her husband were murdered by a guy who just like decided he was obsessed with her, and everyone knew it was going to happen. And no matter how many times she tried to get some form of protection from the police, it was basically just like, when he shows up, call us. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
It'll be like 45 minutes before we get here. Hopefully he's not violent, and eventually he was. So
yeah, imagine how many times this exact scenario that we're going to be talking about today has happened,
Far too many.
After police were brought into things, supposedly the dad kind of laid off the alcohol, but he kept threatening them with violence. Like this, it just didn't stop. And he even threatened to burn their house down, which is a bit extreme. I mean, you live in it.
Yeah, that's
weird. It's a strange threat to have. And poor little Judith, she would tell her friends that her dad threw pots and pans at her. Like, she would tell her friends how hard she was getting hit, and she would literally show up with like bruises. He would make her nose bleed. That's how hard he was throwing these things at her. And a neighbor recalled a story about Judith getting a brand new kite, and her father broke it into as many pieces as he could.
Wow.
For whatever reason, I don't know. And due to the abuse, she developed compulsive disorders. Like, she would pluck out her own eyelashes.
I knew someone who used to do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You did? Really?
Yeah. I didn't realize it was something that they used to do until it was brought up. We had a poker game, and we were in our like early 20s, and one of my friends saw them doing it, and I was like, "Oh, are you plucking your eyelashes out again?" And they got so upset and like so defensive. They're like, "I don't do that. What the fuck are you talking about? You do that." And so it immediately became this like terribly awkward situation where like everyone's trying to move on, but also trying to look at her eyelashes to see how many are missing.
Oh man, yeah. So apparently that was a symptom of the stuff that was happening to her, like a coping mechanism maybe. She's just plucking out her eyelashes. In May of 1988, when she broke down in front of her agent, they took her to a child psychologist who identified the severe physical and emotional abuse that she was experiencing, and they reported it to Child Protective Services, which is the thing that you should do, in my opinion. When her mother told them that she was going to get a divorce, they were going to move away, like that she was going to take Judith out of that situation, the caseworker kind of dropped the investigation. And I'm sure there's a lot more nuance to that. I'm sure it wasn't just like, okay, we're good, we're going to drop the investigation. I'm sure it's like, okay, well, come on, like, let's see some action or something like that. But they couldn't really do anything. They couldn't just take her out of her home without any more evidence or something. I'm sure there's a lot to it. I don't work in social services. I couldn't really say. I'm sure there's someone out there who listens who does work in social services, and it would be really cool to learn that. So if you want to give us some information, that'd be great. But her mother promised, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. She had already gotten an apartment outside of the home, that her husband had no access to. She would go there during the day and then come back home at night. And she kept hesitating. Like, she was so afraid of losing their home and everything that they had. She just kept taking time, to make that move, to actually just leave. And on July 25th, 1988, so just a couple months after that initial dealing with child services, things like that, Judith missed an appointment. She'd been seen riding her bike that morning. She missed an appointment. It was then reported that 3 people were found dead in what seemed to be a murder-suicide.
Holy shit.
It was the entire family.
Wow.
So he had killed Judith, her mother, and he set the house on fire while he was found in the garage with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
That's just so sad, dude.
Yeah. What's horrible, she really was only 10.
Right.
She was so incredibly young. And their neighbor had been the one to hear the gunshot and called the police at around 8:30 in the morning or something. So it was first thing in the morning, this guy chose violence. I don't know why. No one knows why, but that's what happened. So both The Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven released after her death.
After
After her death.
Wow.
And the scene at the end of All Dogs Go to Heaven has her character.
Spoilers.
Okay, guys, this is
an old movie.
This is an old movie. Has her character Anne Marie. She says goodbye to her friend, the dog Charlie, played by Burt Reynolds. Supposedly, the lines were recorded prior to her death, but Reynolds requested that they re-record them afterwards, resulting in a more emotional and personal goodbye to her character, to her, not just her character. But it's really heartbreaking to watch that scene once you know.
Yeah, I feel like I have to rewatch it to inflict additional pain upon myself as an adult now.
My friends were like, hey, watch this. You have to watch this now that you know. And so she played it for me, and I was just like, I'm so sad right now because it's just like, yeah, you should watch it. It's really heartbreaking. And then the next time you watch The Land Before Time and hear Ducky, the cute little dinosaur, say the line, yep, yep, yep. Remember that one?
I don't even
she's
remember.
She's like, yep, yep, yep. She's
that's
so
her?
Cute. Yeah, that's her.
Wow.
It's so fucking sad. And her gravestone literally has that line engraved on it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's so sad.
I don't know. It's so hard to try and understand why someone would do something so horrible,
Yeah, so you're welcome for the extra tears from those movies that already make you freaking cry your eyes out.
Thanks a bunch.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So this next one, we're going to take a completely different vibe than that of Judith. It's going to be a different angle, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but it's about Lloyd Fernandez Avery II.
Okay.
Known for being one of the bloods, quote unquote bloods, in Boys in the Hood. He's one of the guys who murders Ricky.
Oh, man.
And he's the guy.
You've never seen Boys in the Hood, have you?
He's the guy in the back of the car that pulls out the shotgun.
Okay.
Yeah, that's this.
You've
actor.
never seen Boys in the Hood. Right?
I've never seen Boys in the Hood, y'all.
Holy shit. I remember my dad made me watch it when I was really young when it came out. Like, as soon as it got to VHS. He was
I think Adams described this movie to me and made me watch, like, certain scenes from
bits
it.
And pieces, yeah.
But I've never seen it from beginning to end. I know what happens in it. I know the characters. I just have never sat down and seen it myself. All right. So, like Judith, this guy, he's born in Los Angeles, California. He was born June 21st, 1969. The fact that they were both born in June is purely coincidental. He was one of 4 kids living in a working class neighborhood. I don't know how working class it was. He went to Beverly Hills High School. So, I mean, what is working class and how do you go to this high school?
Do you know if Beverly Hills High School is nice?
He attended.
You just recognize Beverly Hills.
He attended high school with children of really famous people.
Okay.
So, are famous people just...
What famous people do? They could have been famous people.
He was lucky enough to be acquainted with a number of connections that got him in roles like Boys in the Hood. That's how he got this job. Okay. Connections through school, kids in school, people he's met, stuff like that. He was even in an episode of Doogie Howser.
Okay.
I mean... Neil Patrick Harris. What could go wrong?
When he's a child, too.
Yeah. He's absolutely adorable in that show. Have you ever seen any of the...
I used to watch
it's cute. If you guys don't know what that is, he plays a doctor, but he's a child.
I think every episode ends with him like typing something into his personal diary on a blue screen with white lettering. And it has a Doogie Howser theme song playing in the background.
So, yeah. So, this guy... I'm trying to decide if I want to call him Lloyd or Avery. Let's call him Avery, okay? So, Avery, he has minor roles, but it was a start. He's starting his career. It's enough for him to get an agent and kind of get his career moving. And as he's going through this growth, going through these movies, these roles, his behavior becomes more and more erratic over time. Like absolutely unruly behavior. Like he was assaulting people. And he was thrown off the set of one of these movies because of it. Because of him being just out of control. He started living this quote unquote gangster lifestyle. And he wasn't just portraying it on screen anymore. All these roles he was getting were these thug roles.
He had been typecast as that, and so he started just being that.
And so he started being that. And he would literally miss auditions for other jobs, other acting jobs, because of this lifestyle. And he really got involved in all of these groups, these local gangs. And in 2000, after wrapping up filming for what would be his final film, named Shot, he was arrested and charged with a double homicide.
Whoa, holy shit.
Yeah.
The guy who shot Ricky killed 2 people?
Yeah. So he killed 2 people. He shot them in broad daylight, allegedly for not paying a drug debt, and was sentenced to life in prison. I'm sure you did not see that coming.
I did not, no.
Yeah, when you watch movies, it's really hard sometimes to see these people as people that are that people have the potential to be criminals, to do things like that, right? At least for me, when I watch something, I'm not going to be like, oh man, Alec Baldwin shot that person. It's really hard to see. I mean,
I'm never going to forget that
now, but you would have never thought that would ever happen.
No, I wouldn't have thought potentially there would have been an accident where Alec Baldwin shot someone, but there is certain people in certain movies that you see where they almost adapt to a role way too well, and you almost get a little bit nervous, like, why was that so easy for them?
Like Keanu Reeves in, I was going to say Jack Reacher, John Wick. I can't imagine him going around shooting a bunch of people.
Yeah, if they killed his fucking dog, he might just.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so he gets sentenced to life in prison. And then was subsequently murdered on September 4th, 2005 at the age of 36. So he gets murdered, strangled by his cellmate, Kevin Roby, supposedly as part of a, quote, satanic ritual that was intended as a warning to God, end quote.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
Bro, when I read that, I was just like, you're kidding me.
A satanic ritual meant as a warning to God?
Bruh. I was just shocked when I read that, because it was just like, this guy kills 2 people, ends up in jail, gets murdered as a part of a satanic rite? What?
That's weird.
It's weird. Anyway, those that knew him and worked with him stated that he could have had quite the career if his life hadn't spiraled.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but fascinating. I mean...
Morbidly fascinating.
I mean, you were shocked. You had no idea.
No.
I mean, I had no idea. And I'm sure there are a lot of things out there like this, where it's like, this celebrity goes on to kill people. I mean, there's some celebrities...
A lot of things like this.
You never know, but there's some people out there who you've seen in movies when you were younger, and then they're like hairstylists now. Or they work in finance, like they're an account manager.
Like people that move on past that life, but sometimes people move into like criminal activities.
Yes.
Like I was just watching a review of, I think, it was a re-review where people watch a movie from a long time ago and review it again. It was Jurassic Park. And the part at the beginning of Jurassic Park where the guy who's going to steal all the embryos in the Barbasol can, the guy who gives them the Barbasol can was recently, at the time they did the review, so probably a couple of years ago, arrested for child molestation.
What the frick, dude?
Yeah. And I was just like, what the, like, yeah, everyone, Dotson from Jurassic Park is a fucking pedo. I was like, I had no idea. I did not know that. There was other actors in different movies I saw growing up where you find out that they, beat someone up or did something illegal further down the road. And sometimes you see them in a role and then later on find out they did something very similar to that. Another good example is You, season 2. When he goes out to LA, the guy who plays the Hollywood star who's a comedian, who's super famous, who's taking pictures of young girls.
Actually does that
was
in real
actually
life.
Doing that in real life. And then he got caught out very, very soon after that show came out. Almost like he was cast in a role that he was currently living, and someone stepped forward saying, this actually happens.
Yeah.
That shit was super crazy too. So I get what you're saying. I just think it's definitely not the norm. I don't think it happens all the time.
I don't think it happens all the time, but how much do we really know?
How much do you really know about anyone, Robin?
Exactly.
Okay, then.
All right, so moving on from that one, the third and final tale of this particular episode is yet another different turn. We're going to take another turn, and this one
different
is...
vibe, as you would say.
Different vibe, but still within the theme of cinema murder.
Okay.
Okay?
Murder.
So.
I just came out annoying that time. I don't know why.
This one is a murder committed by someone who claims his actions were because of a movie.
Okay. So
Like,
inspired by the film.
He did it because he watched this movie.
What movie?
So.
I really hope it's... Okay, I shouldn't say I hope. That's a horrible thing to say. If it's not a movie that has murder or horror, it's something silly.
Like B movie?
Like a B movie. Not even a B movie. B movie is a rating, you know?
No, B movie.
The B movie?
B-E-E movie.
Okay, yeah, if it's the B movie, I will be a little bit confused unless the person was thrown into a murderous rage and he killed the attendant trying to get a refund.
I mean, have you seen B movie?
No,
I've
never seen it.
It's like you're a working bee and you just you're raised to do this job and then you die and you're replaced by other bees and all you do is work, die, work, die, work.
Humanity,
and
too.
And that's why someone could murder.
Is it really about B movie?
No.
I thought you were building this shit up because it's about the B movie.
But it could happen. You know, you watch this movie and you realize this is my fucking life. I'm going to kill someone. I am the B movie.
You're not allowed to watch the B movie anymore.
Anyway.
Stop watching the B movie, Robin.
Anyway. So, this movie is much older.
I'm really curious now which movies you've watched where you're like, this is my fucking life and someone has to die.
Okay. No, it doesn't happen really often. Okay, this movie is much older, and the movie, one you might probably have never heard of. You've never heard of this. I'd never heard of this. It's what you would call a lost movie. Okay. It's called London After Midnight.
I have not heard of it, no.
It is an MGM movie.
It sounds dirty.
It's not. So, this movie is about a professor coming in, like an investigator, to come in to solve the death of the owner of this manor on the outskirts of London.
Okay, cool.
So
great setup so far.
Yeah, this owner shows up dead. Some guy has to come in, figure out who done it. Okay. 5 years after his death, a hypnotist comes from Scotland Yard, and he's there to try to reproduce the scene of the crime. He hypnotizes the suspect into recreating the murder.
Okay.
That's his goal here. Very strange sounding. When I read it, I was very confused. Okay. But the person of note in this tale is Lon Chaney. From what I've seen, it's kind of creepy. Like, the characters, how they did the makeup and costumes and things like that, very creepy. So this Lon Chaney, he plays the hypnotist disguised as a vampire.
Okay.
I sent you a picture the other night.
I was wondering why you sent me a picture of Nosferatu. Only ugly.
It wasn't Nosferatu.
Uglier.
But, yeah, so he's horrifying looking, okay? And I forgot to mention, this movie is from 1928.
Okay.
So it's an old movie.
This is old.
This is old movie. I mean...
You said it was MGM. I was thinking, okay, 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't know why that's
almost
where my
100
brain
years
went
ago.
to. It's 96 years ago.
Yikes. Bro.
Yeah.
I'll have Adam post some pictures of a bunch of stuff from this episode.
Oh, from this episode? Okay.
From this episode,
I was going to post
okay.
a bunch of random pictures of the
No.
dogs, but that's fine.
I'll have Adam post a bunch of pics from this episode.
I'm literally going to put up all the pics you send me and then one pic of our dogs.
Oh my goodness. Lon Chaney, he plays horror and makes it look scary. Like, he genuinely looks scary. And though the movie was popular with crowds, with the layman folk, us.
The layman.
Us people that just...
Idiots.
Yeah.
You're about to say the critics hated it, right?
Critics hated it.
Yeah.
Critics did not like this movie. And despite the effects...
It's the Transformers 7 of movies in 1928.
The story made no sense. The critics were literally like, that's not their best work.
They're like, why does Bumblebee still not talk? I haven't watched a Transformers movie in a minute.
Why did the bees just keep doing their jobs? Anyway, even though this movie, didn't do well with critics, it certainly hit a particular person pretty hard. So, this guy, Robert Williams, was just apparently really affected by this movie. Okay? On October 23rd, 1928, Williams was found by a policeman near Fountain Gate on the north side of Hyde Park in London.
Okay.
Maybe we'll go see Hyde Park. I don't know.
All right.
He was lying face down, bleeding from his throat with a razor beside him. And, I mean, he wasn't bleeding out or anything. He wasn't dying. He just had a wound on his throat.
He cut himself shaving and passed out in the park.
I'm sure if you came across someone like that, you'd be like, he must have cut himself shaving. I don't know. But this guy was from Wales, so that's a ways from London.
It's like 5 hours, right?
No high-speed trains then.
Oh, yeah. That's a while.
Yeah, it's a ways from London. No high-speed trains back then. The first one was in 1976, in case you were wondering. But apparently, he had been out of work for some time. This guy was far from home. He wasn't Spider-Man, though.
Hate you.
And when police found him, he told them, quote, "I did it. She has been teasing me."
What?
End quote.
Oh, no. That's the worst.
And then pointed to a body nearby.
Wow.
That body was that of Julia Mangan, who lived nearby in Stanhope Gardens.
You were like slow building that. I thought it was going to be a name I recognized. So I'm just like,
nah,
I don't know her.
It was like she was like a maid or a waitress or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a normal average Joe.
Who didn't deserve to die.
2 months after the discovery, Williams, he's on trial with a plea of temporary insanity. He's on trial. He's talking about what happened that night. And supposedly, according to him, he and Julia were friends and they were hanging out. And at around 10 o'clock, he told her he wanted to marry her, that he's in love with her, you know. And the last thing he remembered, according to his testimony, was Julia whistling. Quote, "I felt as if my head were going to burst and that steam was coming out of both sides. All sorts of things came to mind. I thought a man had me in a corner and was pulling faces at me. He threatened and shouted at me." End quote.
So he tells her he wants to marry her.
I'm sure she was like, "Hell nah, dog."
Yeah.
And then
at no point does he mention what she said in response in this quote, but that she was whistling and then he started hallucinating or having some weird vision or disassociating.
But I mean, when he tells the police she has been teasing me, you know, it's like,
and I did it. It's like he knows what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And when asked to describe the face that he saw, he described Lon Chaney's character from London After Midnight.
Okay.
So he described this vampire, freaky looking fuck, okay, as the person he was hallucinating about.
So should we post the picture of it? Don't want to be responsible for another person going into a murderous rage when their proposal is turned down.
Yeah, isn't that like so funny? That's how legends are made.
It's a really weird thing for the guy to say in his defense, for sure.
So he blames the murder on a fit he had during which he had horrific visions of this vampire-looking character. He pled insanity and almost got away with it, but they just couldn't agree on a verdict. Like, they couldn't decide, like, if he's guilty or not guilty. I don't know. So
hung jury.
They retried him.
So
they retried him, and the judge at the retrial noted that, yeah, the vampire character would be enough to terrify anybody. Like, it's scary. This is the 1920s, okay? We don't have, like, all the scary shit we have now.
Oh, yeah. That totally makes up for people being fucking idiots.
Anyway, the tale is of a haunted house. There's horrifying characters within.
Totally reason to go out and murder a woman, for sure.
He also, however, noted that if you watch the movie, nothing in it would indicate insanity or cause any person to be purposefully terrible. So the jury this time, pretty swayed by this judge, justly named Justice Humphreys.
Wow.
And Williams gets found guilty.
Okay.
So this judge is like, y'all, sure the movie's scary, but...
It's weird the judge is telling the jury, like, this dude's fucked up, you better find him guilty, and not the prosecutor.
You know...
I don't know how
it worked in 1920s, okay?
In the 1920s in London.
But they found him guilty. He was sentenced to death by hanging. But 2 weeks later, his sentence was changed to time at Broadmoor Criminal Lunatic Asylum.
Because he claimed he was crazy.
And there were medical records. People looked at it and they're like, just send him to the asylum, you know. It wasn't that I don't think necessarily it was the movie that made him crazy, or maybe it did, but they deemed him unfit enough to send him to the asylum. So I don't know what happened there. I don't have the legal paperwork to read, but that is what happened. Cheney, the target of Williams' perhaps delusion, was diagnosed with lung cancer. And weeks after the release of his first and only talking film, because all of these are silent films.
Oh, okay. I was wondering whether or not that other one was a talkie or not.
It was called The Unholy Three. So
the talkie was?
The talkie was called The Unholy Three. And he died of a throat hemorrhage on August 26, 1930.
That's sad.
So not too long afterwards.
Yeah.
But
a tale of lots of death.
What's crazy is he was affected by breathing in like the fake snowflakes that they would use in movies.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So at one point he inhaled some, fucked up his throat, got an infection, and that's how he fucking died.
I always wonder, like, when I see people use smoke machines, that shit can't be good for you. Who wants to breathe in smoke? I saw one just today watching Hard Knocks, the Bears. The 4th episode, one guy did his performance and they put on a smoke machine. Every time I see those, I think to myself, those look pretty cool. I would never breathe that shit in, though. Ever. It's got to be toxic. There's no fucking way it's not.
I don't know. I mean, the smoke is made with chemicals.
Back in 1925, I don't know whenever this movie was being made, but it came out in 1928, so probably 1928. Who knows how long production time took in 1928? They basically just took whatever they had on hand and just said, let's make it look like this thing. It might be glowing green because it's radioactive, but I'm sure it's fine.
Isn't it like the witch from The Wizard of Oz got sick and stuff like that?
Well, I think she burned because something malfunctioned on one of the live shows.
I thought she got sick because of like the makeup.
That's the Tin Man. The Tin Man actually had stuff put on him that was straight up toxic as fuck, and he almost died.
Oh my jeez.
Man, I should do Haunted Hollywood.
Yeah, bro.
Oz. Oh
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Good call.
You're welcome.
Maybe next episode. Maybe 301. 301's my next episode.
Okay. Fun fact, this movie is considered a lost film because the last known copy was destroyed in 1965.
Wow.
In the MGM Vault Fire in Culver City, California.
Everyone agrees that's the most tragic loss a fire has ever claimed. Definitely not the library at Alexandria.
Oh my goodness. You've covered that too, haven't you?
I don't think I have.
Oh. Well, the Vault 7 of this MGM Vault area building thing, their Vault 7 had an electrical short that set all the nitrate film on fire. And if you didn't know, nitrate film is incredibly flammable.
If you've never watched Inglourious Bastards and were given the lesson where they tell you that.
Yes.
It wasn't even allowed on street buses. They're just like, that's just too flammable. Get the fuck off.
Yeah. It pretty much turned into like a bomb of some sorts because it was so flammable. It's like it turned into a ball of flames, pretty much. Highly recommend watching Inglourious Bastards if you're okay with gore, violence, and
the murder of Nazis, which some people are not.
I mean, it is a fun movie. It is not a kid's movie. It is absolutely
it's a fucking Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, but when she sets that film on fire, it is crazy satisfying. I don't know. It's just...
I can't imagine a lot of folks out there who wouldn't be satisfied watching Hitler made unalive.
Yeah, that movie is great. Brad Pitt's great in it.
Brad Pitt is super good in that movie.
He's so good in it. I'm just thinking of how
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz. Oh my goodness.
I think that's his first English role.
Is it?
And he won an Oscar for
it.
And then he won an Oscar for his next role with Quentin Tarantino too.
Django?
Yeah,
Unchained.
for Django. He's so fucking good in that movie.
Man, he is a talented actor.
He's excellent. You don't see him much.
This is why we need to start our movie podcast.
I think about it every fucking day. Every day.
We love movies, guys. Anyway, so the initial explosion could be heard on the surrounding lots. That's how big this fire was. So I think it was on Lot 3 and Lot 1 and 2 could hear what was going on.
It doesn't seem necessarily too far away. They're adjacent
The lots
and
are
adjacent
huge.
adjacent. I get that.
Lots are huge, okay?
If I told you I heard an explosion at Lot 3, and you said,
if
what
you
lot were you
told
on?
me you
and I
heard
said,
an explosion,
Lot 2.
if you heard me, you heard an explosion. If you told me
you heard me, you heard an explosion.
if you told me you heard an explosion down, by the baseball field or whatever, I'd be like,
you're pointing the wrong direction.
I don't even know directions, but I would be shocked.
The baseball field's right there.
I know it's fucking far.
When they set off fireworks, I could run to the baseball field, and I can barely run, like we just found out when I ran the 40-yard dash recently.
You know what? Okay, if you heard the fireworks outside, like when we're at Disney, and you hear the fireworks, you hear it from pretty far away.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
not. You're proving my point. I'm saying Lot 2 is right next to Lot 3. You would imagine Lot 2 would have heard it.
All I know is people heard this shit. Okay, it doesn't fucking matter where they were.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
God, stuff set on fire.
It made noise. People are like, "Did you hear that noise?"
Things were lost. Very important things were lost. So,
like this movie, who made someone get murdered.
None of the films stored there could be salvaged. Lots of silent films were lost to history. They've tried to put this particular movie, put reconstructed versions of it based on the original scripts and stuff like that, bits and pieces of it, and play it on Turner Classic Movies.
Why?
That channel.
No.
It just isn't the same.
Sometimes right? Dead's better. Leave this movie in the
ashes. One of the original posters for London After Midnight sold in 2014 for $500,000.
Get the fuck out of town.
Dude.
That's insane. So
yeah.
London After Midnight is something very well known to collectors and movie buffs.
I'm sure it is.
I'll keep my eye out.
I bet your guy who does the Red Letter Media stuff has heard this movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mr. Plinkett, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, but this particular topic with the movie and the murder, things like that, is probably how urban legends get started, where it's like this movie came out and then someone murdered someone over it. And now if anybody ever finds this lost film and sees the lost film.
For sure for this one, it's an urban legend where you don't want to show it again. It caused a murder last time. Mm-hmm. I could see that.
So I love how stories like this get developed and turned into things that people pass down and make, into things you find on Reddit. Additional fun fact, the dude that this guy claims to have seen looks like the Babadook.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. We're posting that picture. That's the one you sent, right?
Yeah, the one I sent. And then you can post a picture of the drawing of the Babadook or whatever. But that's he looks just like it.
Okay. Send me a picture of the Babadook as well.
Yeah. So you can picture that in your mind's eye. But anyway, that is my episode about, I don't know, cinema murders.
I don't know. You have to pick the name of your own topic, so cinema murders it is.
Yeah.
Good topic. All right. That is everything we have for episode 299, the penultimate episode. Good job, Robin. If you have a story you'd like to share with us, it does not need to be about cinema murders or movies that you watched that made you commit a murder, or if you were murdered. If you can write us a fucking email
from
and you
the dead.
had been murdered, that is crazy. But if you want to share a story with us that's paranormal, supernatural, spiritual, coincidental, true crime, or extraterrestrial in nature, or anything that you feel would fit the motif of Scaryish, email storytime@scaryish.com or go to our website, scaryish.com, click on Contact Us, fill out that form. It comes directly to us, or hit us up on our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/Scaryish Podcast. Twitter is @ScarishPod, and Instagram is @Scaryish Podcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, we've mentioned it a couple of times already. How can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/Scaryish Podcast, and tiers start at $1. At $1 you get ad free, and we post. There's some actual extra story time things on there. You can see some of the merch that patrons get over there as well. Yeah. So yeah, go on over, take a look. It exists, and if you're not into the monthly donation type thing,
fuck you.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's fucking rude as hell.
No one listens to this part, just so you know. If I had fucking analytics that would tell me how often people turn off the episode before we do this plug.
If you guys have gotten to this part, go to our Instagram and put an emoji of...
Just put no fuck you, Adam.
No, I don't want that as comments on our Instagram post. I don't know. Do like a fun emoji. Do a race car emoji because we're going to
Robin's
Monza this
addicted to
weekend.
F1 and you need to feed her addiction.
We're going to Monza this weekend, so put a race car emoji. That'd be cool. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Did I even get to that website? Single donations at ko-fi.com/Scaryish podcast. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
That is everything we have for this episode. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.